Hey y'all, my name is Taylor. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my kitchen where we're gonna be cooking up another computer build today. This time, this build is gonna be focused on high refresh rate, high resolution gaming, so 1440p at 120 frames per second and 4K at 60 frames per second is kind of what we're going for here. Gonna be building with the Fractal Torrent today. Gonna be using the brand new i5 14600K paired with an RTX 4080 graphics card with this DDR5 motherboard. Let's go ahead and get this built together and then we're gonna test it out, see how it performs in games. And then at the end, I'll give you all a cost breakdown of everything so you can get an idea of what a system like this might cost here in the US. So quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored and any links in the description are not affiliate links. This video was funded and produced by me and me alone. So if you wanna show some support, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'm going to start off with the motherboard. This is the MSI Z790 Edge Wi-Fi, and I chose this motherboard because it has DDR5 #1. And opening the box here, it also has Wi-Fi with this included Wi-Fi antenna, which it's Wi-Fi 6E, so that's good. That's going to allow for a lot of performance in your internet. I'm going to be putting the i5 14600K inside this motherboard. It has 14 cores and 20 threads, and it also has a max turbo frequency of 5.3 gigahertz. I'm also going to be pairing this G-Skill DDR5 RAM. This is 6000 megahertz RAM. We have a bit of a problem because this motherboard supports 12 and 13th gen processors, but not 14th gen like we have here. But there is a solution to that. On MSI's website, under the BIOS section, they do have a BIOS for this motherboard that supports 14th gen processors. You just need to download it, which you can do on Windows or PC. And once that's downloaded, you can get that extracted to a flash drive, which we're going to be using the flash drive here that came with the motherboard. This has all the drivers on it. And then you need to rename the file from its default crazy digit number to just msi.rom, and I like to put this in the root of the flash drive folder so that the BIOS doesn't have to go digging anywhere and everything will just go smoother. After that, you just need to connect the motherboard like I have here to the 24-pin power and the 8-pin CPU power. That is all you need. You don't need a CPU install or RAM or anything else. Then just go ahead and put power to your power supply, plug the flash drive in to the back in the BIOS flash slot, and then go ahead and flick the power supply on. You may or may not see a light. I didn't in my case until I hit the BIOS flash button on the back of the motherboard, and then it started flashing, indicating that it was flashing the BIOS as well as a little CPU power light on the motherboard. That'll take about 5 to 6 minutes to flash depending, so grab a cup of coffee and wait a bit. Once the flashing light is done, that means you're good to go. Flick off your power supply, remove your flash drive, and now we can get the 14th gen processor installed on here. Going to press down on this latch here. It's going to be a little violent. It's time for the second star of the show, the RTX 4080. This is the Gigabyte RTX 4080 Eagle Edition, and it is factory overclocked. It has 3 huge fans, GDDR6X RAM, 16 gigs of it, and it is as big as a school bus. Power switch should be connected now, so let's go ahead and send it. Oh, it's doing its memory timing thing. Yes, all right, we got something. Select CPU cooler type. It automatically selects water cooling. That's kind of cool. And it went away. Okay, I'm going to assume that selected it. Save configuration, extreme memory profile to enabled. We're gonna go ahead and hit yes. And now we're back inside the BIOS, and look at that. Now it's recognizing 6,000 megahertz RAM. It's the next day and I'm over here at the prep screen where I'm getting Windows and games and drivers installed on the system. And I just wanted to point out a couple things, including that the Windows 11 Home install will stop at the internet connection screen, whether you're on Ethernet or Wi-Fi, because this motherboard doesn't have baked-in drivers. And in order to get past that screen, you're gonna have to pull up command prompt and enter in a command, which your system will restart, and then you will get a tiny little option to skip the screen. And if anyone from Microsoft Windows team is watching this, please stop doing this. This is an awful, awful experience. I shouldn't have to type in a command to install my operating system. Anyway, once inside and the Ethernet drivers installed, the system will begin installing MSI drivers, including a nifty custom MSI wallpaper, which I assumed is going to be as beautiful as this motherboard itself. And it's not, it's this. It's literally just an ad for the motherboards that I haven't purchased, which is just gross and just next level corporate propaganda here. Here in Warzone, I'm playing at 1440p, no DLSS or upscaling at all, just all high settings. And I'm getting 170 frames per second, so we're hitting that high frame rate mark so that we can take advantage of high refresh rate screens. Again, no DLSS, this is pure native rendering at 4K, and you can see that in all high settings, I am hitting 126 frames per second. Again, no DLSS is on. This is native 4K, all high settings. And we're starting to dip down under 100. Our CPU temperature is sitting right at 51 degrees Celsius, so we're under 60 degrees Celsius. Here's the results of the Call of Duty in-game benchmark. We are at 1440p, getting an average of 146 frames per second, which is over 120 frames per second. So we are at that high refresh rate mark. And you can see that we are 99% GPU bottlenecked with the 4080 and 1% with the CPU. With the CPU getting an average frames per second of 250 frames per second, which is not bad. For 4K, is showing 94 frames per second average, which is well above our 60 frames per second target that we're shooting for here, where the CPU is hitting 216 frames per second at a 1% bottleneck, and the GPU is 99% bottleneck. So the CPU is not bottlenecking the system at all. We are at 3840 by 2160, so native 4K, no upscaling, no sharpening, and all high settings. Here in Alan Wake at 1440p, I'm getting 125 frames per second, and with my options, everything on graphics is absolutely maxed. The render resolution is set to ultra performance with DLSS, and DLSS frame generation is on. Everything is absolutely maxed out, including the ray tracing, which I've set ray reconstruction on, direct lighting, path tracing, direct lighting is high, transparency is high. With all these settings at 1440p, I'm getting 120 frames per second. So we're hitting that high refresh rate mark. And the i5 14600K is sitting at about 46, 49 degrees Celsius. Alan Wake in 4K using the exact same settings that we used in 1440p with ultra performance, DLSS, and everything cranked to high. When in game, we can see that we're hitting that 60 frames per second mark. So we are getting over it. We're sitting at around 92, 93 frames per second, which is pretty good, honestly. The CPU is running at 46 degrees Celsius, so still under 50 degrees Celsius. That's not bad either. As for synthetic benchmarks, the 14600K scored a 1261 in multi-core. And on the single core side of things, it scored 117. We've seen a lot with this build. We saw it built from start to finish, and then we saw the benchmarks in 1440p and 4K. But how much does this build actually cost to make if you wanted to make a similar one on your own? Well, I have the cost breakdown here, and this includes everything: the motherboard, the CPU, the GPU, the SSD, the case, the RAM, the thermal paste, the power supply, the fan in the back, the cooler, all that. It does not include things like the monitor, the Windows license, or any peripherals, just what's inside the case. And the total cost comes out to $2,924.81. That is in USD. That is not including tax. What do you think? That is pretty expensive. PC gaming is definitely not cheap. As we saw, it runs 4K and 1440p pretty well, so it might just be all that you need. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Did you like the build? Did you like the performance? Are you interested in building this yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Leave a like, leave a subscribe if you want to see more. Take care. All right, power supply's on. Here we go. I did not connect the front panel power.